All right, so we're going to move into Unit 5 right here before Thanksgiving break, which is going to deal with animal studies. And we're going to talk about the different classifications of animals, some characteristics that go into those classifications. We'll start at the more simple of the animal groups and move our way up to the more complex animals, which, of course, the top being human. All right, so characteristics of all animals. So all animals are going to be multicellular, eukaryotic, heterotrophic, and their cells are going to lack cell walls. Most animals contain tissues, which are groups of similar cells. So multicellular, eukaryotic, and heterotrophic should all mean something to you. Okay, so those words should be familiar. Invertebrates versus vertebrates. So 95% of all animals, believe it or not, are invertebrates, which means that they do not have a backbone. And most of the times when I tell students that in person, they're kind of surprised by that number. And it's because when we think of animals, we think of a small group of animals, which are the vertebrates. But those are the animals that we typically deal the most with on a daily basis. Most animals do not have a backbone. So two important vocab terms there, invertebrates versus vertebrates. So your vertebrates, which means they do have a backbone, are only going to be fish through humans for the most part. Feedback inhibition is it's a very important process in animals. So animals maintain homeostasis using feedback inhibition. Remember what homeostasis is. It's the ideal living conditions for whatever organism it is we're looking at. So feedback inhibition is when the product of a process limits the process. Let me say that again. It is when the product of a process limits the process. So for an example, excess heat is going to cause you to sweat, which is your body's mechanism to reduce your body temperature. So the product of a process, okay, so your body's temperature increasing, the product of that is heat, and which causes sweat, is going to limit how hot your body gets. All right, so all animals are going to perform certain essential functions, and we're going to highlight those. And then when we go into the different classifications of animals, then we'll look at how each of these functions are done. First one's feeding. All animals have to ingest food. Okay, all animals have to get their food from other organisms or other sources. Animals feed on many different things in order to obtain energy. Okay, remember, consuming food is vital to energy, having a stable energy supply. Respiration, we spent a lot of time talking about this in Unit 3. This is the act of taking in oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. Some animals can do this through their skin, while others require specialized structures. So this is taking that glucose from food and breaking it down in the presence of oxygen and producing carbon dioxide to release energy. Circulation, okay? All animals carry out some form of circulation. Some are more complex than others. Long story short, with circulation, it's the movement of materials throughout the body. Oxygen, water, other minerals and nutrients that the body needs. All right, some of this is done by diffusion of water in closed systems or open systems, and then some organisms have closed systems, which involves typically a heart, other vascular tissues to pump the material and a lot of times blood or other body fluids throughout the body. Excretion. So excretion is going to be the removal of waste, typically done by kidneys or kidney-like structures that we'll talk about. Kidneys are basically big filters which remove ammonia and other waste products from blood in most mammals. And we'll look at how that's done in each of the classification. Again, some of it is more of an open type system, which relies on water removing waste. Some actually filter the water within the bodies to preserve it. Response. All animals receive and respond to stimuli in their environment. Some organisms have very simple receptor cells, while some have complex nervous systems with sensory integration. When we talk about integration, sensory integration, that means that there's a decision that is being made off of information that is brought in from the area or the environment. It's not a simple just reaction, so to speak. Most animals that have a response system, even a basic one, are going to respond to things that touch it, or increase or decrease in temperature, or increase or decrease in acidity levels. those type of things. But then when you get to more complex animals, they take that information and they make conscious decisions about their environment or what they're going to do based off what they're gathering. Movement. Most animals are motile. Motile means mobility. Mobility involves some sort of muscular tissue for propulsion or more complex movement. Reproduction. Most animals reproduce sexually by the combination of haploid gametes. Sexual reproduction adds to population's diversity. Okay. Some invertebrates reproduce asexually, which allows for fast reproduction. So when you have asexual reproduction, you're not going to have a lot of offspring variability. It's identical copies of the parent. Okay. With sexual reproduction, you get different traits, you get different combinations, which leads to a more healthy gene pool, so to speak. It leads to those variability traits that we see in most organisms or populations. All right, so we're going to talk about a couple different things that has led and played key roles in animal evolution and what it's driven by. First one's going to be cell specialization. So as animals evolve, their need for specialized cells become greater. The larger the animal, the more specialized cells that they're going to have, usually because of the different tissue types. Organs and organ systems complete cell specialization in most complex animals. So what we normally see with animals is as they get larger, then they must become more complex to provide the body with everything that it needs. And in order to do that, they're going to need more specialized cells to carry out certain roles. And this has typically been the trend with animal evolution. Now, with notice in parentheses, it says usually there's exceptions, just like with everything else. You could find a rather large animal that is fairly simplistic in its composition, but most larger animals are going to have more specialized cells to carry out very important functions of daily lives. Body symmetry. So this is when one or more lines of symmetry can be drawn through an organism's body plan. There's two different types. You have radial and bilateral, and there's asymmetrical, which is basically no symmetry at all. So radial symmetry is when organisms have infinite lines of symmetry. All right, so think about a circle. You could draw a line across a circle at any point, and it's going to be the same on both sides of that line. Okay, that's radial symmetry. So if we look at the example here, you could draw a line anywhere you want, and it going in each direction, any direction, and it's going to be the same on either side of the line. Bilateral symmetry is when there's only one line of symmetry that can be drawn in the organism. This body plan has proven to be more fit as evolution has favored it over radial symmetry. Some reasons for this might be body segmentation, which can lead to specialized appendages and the additions of anterior and posterior differences. So this body segmentation, which is going to play into cell specialization, which is going to allow for more specialized appendages, which aids these organisms in survival. Okay, think about your hands and your thumbs, okay? Particularly your thumbs. We're able to do so much with our hands, and because of our thumbs, that adaptation, that specialized appendage. Okay, we're able to grasp things, turn things, open things, break things. So a lot of things we would not be able to do with our hands without our thumb. That's just one small example to think about when we're talking about specialized appendages and how important it is to our survival. Cephalization. So cephalization literally means the addition of a head. Okay. And so in science, and especially biology, what a head is the concentration of sense organs and nervous tissues at the anterior of an organism forming a head. So this is where all of the stimuli recepting cells are going to send the information that they're feeling from the outside world. So this is going to be found in animals with bilateral symmetry, and this eventually leads to sensory integration. Again, integration meaning um, actually deciding what to do with the information that is gathered from the area around an organism. It's a conscious thought. Now, there are some subconscious reactions to certain stimuli, kind of like with us as humans. If we get hot, we automatically start sweating. Okay, we don't have to tell our body to sweat. It's an automatic response. Okay, but we can also make a decision off of that feeling as well. We can make the decision to either stay in whatever environment we're in and sweat, or we make a conscious decision to say, I'm hot, I'm sweating, I need to go somewhere to cool off. Okay, so you see in that situation, you have both a conscious decision being made and an automatic response to a stimuli. Last thing is going to be body cavity formation. And so as the body specializes more, it's going to become or grows more complex. There's going to be more specialized structures and organs that are specialized. And these structures are going to be fragile. They need to be protected. So the body cavity is a space that is going to protect these specialized cells and organs. So as organs are kept more, I should say safe, not sage, the survival rate is going to increase and organs are able to become even more specialized. Think about your rib cage, okay, and think about what's inside your rib cage. What is inside our rib cage is organs that are going to be essential to us living, our heart, our lungs. Okay, those two things we can't live without those. So they're inside a chest cavity of bones, and around that chest cavity is also is a lot of muscles. That's for a reason. It's for protection. It's to protect those vital organs as much as possible. Same thing with the brain. Okay, there's a hard skull all the way around our brain, and once we reach a certain age of development, and it is to protect that brain. Okay. If you have questions, let me know. I hope you enjoyed your break. Be sure you complete the video form with this, and we will see you after Thanksgiving. Thank you.